we can, with a little bit of noise, for the Tea House Theatre and all the family that put this together, to give us this space. So make a little bit of noise for these guys. They're great, they're heroes, they're amazing, yeah. Nice one, Harry, thank you everyone. Do sign up for the mailing list if you can. I'm going to keep prompting it, basically. Please sign up for the mailing list. It's wonderful to be on there, to get notified of what's happening. So, are you ready for your first act? Yes. Okay, I'm very, very excited. So our first act is going to be Steve. Where's Steve? There he is. Give it up for Steve. Let's set you up.
Hello. Hello. I've got two fairly short poems. The first one is called Inheritance. Growing up, my father was a shadow. In the shade cast, a weight was passed down to me, unconsciously. An anchor in the male bloodline, treasured it must be, to carry something so precious and heavy. Waiting for colour to fill the lap, nothing appeared. So I painted pictures of an ideal man, and how another differs not from women when living with what I was given. Now grown up, lessons learned of the mind's ability to stretch from the past to the present, filling gaps left by absence. With no sun to pass the weight on, it would have played silently inside me, like a lonely sun in the far-off galaxy. But my inheritance can still be fatherly, with words chosen carefully, leading pain into poetry, so another man's weight may not feel so heavy. This is called It's Hot in the City. Summer heat paints green city lungs t-shirt white. Meat sizzles, napkins forgotten, red shoulders emerge through barbecue fog, litter bins overflow, garbage waterfalls, sweat drips, fag ends, nowhere to sit. Summer heat fuels subterranean sauna trains, towels forgotten, relief when crawled into station platform. No litter bins, sweat drips, armpits, nowhere to sit. Summer heat breaks office aircon just as holiday memories forgotten. Hot desks, no litter bins, recycled meeting jargon. Impatient sweat drips, nowhere to sit. Summer heat dreams turn like burnt city autumn leaves to cosy coats with hairy hoods. Meat sizzles, napkins forgotten. Red noses emerge through grilled sausage fog. Litter bins overflow, garbage waterfalls. Fag ends humbug, too cold to sit.
Get up for Steve, get up for Steve! And of course, this is your night, so you can make as much noise as you want. Yeah. I hope that's right. Nice one, Steve. Thank you very much. Cool. Also, we're going to have a raffle here tonight, which I didn't mention yet, but we're going to be doing that, and that's happening in the break, isn't it, Jason? Yeah. So what we're going to do is in the break we'll go around, and we've got wonderful prizes on offer, and so we'll be coming round and inviting you to take part in a community event, true spirit and form, with tea and cake, of course, at Tea House Theatre. So, are you ready for your next act? JP! Do we have JP? Here he comes! Make some noise for JP!
Good evening, everybody. It's great to be in this great venue. I've never been here before, and so thank Jason for inviting me. I'm going to read this sort of long, I don't even know if it's a poem, I've been working on a kind of, I suppose you could call it a document, which is turned into 35,000 words, and this is maybe the first 2 pages of it. It probably doesn't have any linear narrative and it makes no sense, so don't try to make any sense out of it, I guess. It's untitled for the moment. Ventry Harbour, the flow of the Atlantic Ocean, engulfing the house, engulfing the mind. Water breaks from the womb, salt in the water, walking the roads of childhood. She's like a novel out of a character, Mrs. O'Rafferty, the owner of the house, getting picked up by strangers. We thumb lifts all over the kingdom. 2 nuns go to sweets in the back seat. There's a yellow house and it never stops raining. A wasp flies inside my grey boots. It stings my baby toe. The fire warms the front room. My mother's reading a stack of books. She reads a lot on holidays. A German man stinking of cigarettes speeds on through a road that leads to Dingle Harbour. The mountains are beyond. We made friends with another family. Boy was my age, never saw him again. Talked about horses and donkeys, threw sand at each other. We went to the theatre and all night I dreamt they died in a car crash. I woke in bed and my pyjamas were soaking wet. Was it a wet dream or did I piss myself? I can't remember. I was confused. Ultimate Warrior pyjamas. Every night I kept going to the toilet even though I didn't need to go. Nervous disposition. I got scared in the room at night, sleeping alone in the attic. I told her this years later. She said it was so cute. She said she never had this problem since she always shared a room with her brother. She said she probably would have felt the same way. Fungi the dolphin, Jesus of Nazareth, Zacchaeus the tax collector, Judas hung himself from a tree, a spineless Jew who sold Jesus down the river for a few fucking measly pieces of silver, and then Calvary, everything changed, year zero, modernity. I'm ringing the guards, I said, stop fighting, stop it, stop it, stop it. The sound of the fucking traffic, the sound of the fucking alarms, the sound of the fucking cars and the fucking noise and the fucking pushing and the fucking shoving and the fucking stabbings and the fucking glass smashing and the fucking drunks shouting up at each other up and down the fucking street will make you drive you fucking mad, so it would. And the ripping of the fucking bags that are left for the homeless people for the charity shop. But the people that are ripping the bags aren't even opening up. The people that are ripping the bags open aren't even fucking homeless, for fuck's sake, and the fucking cars that just keep moving up and down the same old fucking street. Jesus Christ, they give you no rest. You get a better kip inside a cell in emergency prison, Panterville, so you would. If you get pissed up, I mean, you're in a fight, I mean, you're fucked. I don't take shit, right? I'm telling you, pal, if you get pissed up and you start fighting, I mean, you're rightly fucked and that's it. Because, I mean, we were together 10 days and I lost her 5 times. She's an alcoholic, you see. Met him on a bus coming from Bloomsbury going towards the Nag's Head. Papers and car phones, a fuzzy sound on the speaker on the dual carriageway to Stillorgan at Black Rock. We stopped and had an ice cream. I was a sensitive child, always crying. It was the hottest summer in 20 years. The year the rains came, everything changed. Years later we went back out to Black Rock. He dropped me just outside the house. I met him in the conservatory. He told me he came back to Dublin every summer because the summers were too hot in Philadelphia. Started talking about 19th century poetry and the famine, said it was all about understanding. He was a serious man. He had a wife who loved him. The ocean is our playground, the sea is our imagination, roads lead us to discovery. Discovery leads to isolation, crabs, tears, barnacles, raincoats. I watched it one Saturday evening and Penny the Clown nearly made me shit myself, sitting on the attic stairs, scared to be Jesus. Happiness is everywhere, place is an illusion, happiness is illusion, it's fleeting and you are an illusion. You've been ringing my house, haven't you? I know you have, don't lie to me. Now go wait in the area until you tell me the truth. 50 lines I must not talk in class. We had a sunroof and my father would let us stand and put our heads out the top. He was a generous man, full of love, wisdom and a good moral compass. He took us on trips when he went out selling. You have the style and we have the gadgets, he said. We walked in through the back door unannounced and we'd be eating dinner. We'd be waiting in the car and fought each other. He said, I'll be back in a half an hour. We spoke of Popeye the Sailor Man and made cross jokes, tractors, long rainy days with nothing to do but wander. The footsteps, the sound of her coming, green grass and grey skies, the creamery, cows for the milking, old men with flat caps, lines in their faces, they speak in a dialect that sounds foreign. Are you satisfied now, you little bitch? Look what you've done. You wouldn't know what them foreigners would be up to. The Italians and the Greeks always taking siestas. You couldn't trust them like. I hear I'm mad for drink, the brother's dropping us in town. You won't be a minute. Sure, I'll have a cup of tea while we're waiting. The voice has a strange musicality. They have a mystical culture, the end of the old world. Anyone there for the last of the chalk ices? They're from what you might call the oral tradition. They are tortured and cannot express. He was angry sometimes, very angry. She sits in the chair and they feed her marshmallows and Coca-Cola like a 2-year-old, drool rolling down her chin, veins popping out of her legs. On the buildings there are monuments to martyrs. He said, those who can inflict the most suffering will enjoy their place on the right-hand side of the Father. Francis Bacon, he was some man all right. The hobnail boots studio was some mess by, couldn't keep him from working. He was murdered for drink, went to Berlin and started riding lads to beat the band like. They shot him on a chair, his face was full of hatred because they locked him up in a foreign country. 66 days it took him till he breathed his last. We cannot champion the present because the past is a mythical kingdom. We champion the dead because the living are not compelling enough to admire. They sit and wait for her to die. They talk about the GAA, the latest government, sure, it wouldn't last 5 minutes. Longest serving Fine Gael Taoiseach in the history of the state, he said, on 185,000 per annum. The IMF, the ECB, the European Commission, the Troika. It'll take years to pay back the debt, they said. Our children will be riddled with it. It was a big funeral. He was well respected. Priests everywhere in white robes, holy water and incense. I was wearing shorts. It was November. My father, so proud, carrying the coffin, his red eyes, the tears. I smoked a cigar and hid underneath the chairs. I watched the navy suit trousers of old men looking up at their red faces, sipping whiskey and talking politics. The women were pouring tea and handing out sandwiches saying, now, be a good boy for your mammy and don't be crying like that. Your mammy wouldn't like that. Years later, they talked to the cruelty, the beatings, the anger. He never played fair. They had all the scars to show it too. He said, I'll see you at the next funeral. Said I'd like to celebrate the failures of his ancestors. Said it made him feel good about himself. The novel is a celebration of failure, he said. Sure, if they sent her into a home, whose fault was it? Only ours. The family must take some of the blame, he said. Started talking about a blackmail case. Said something about a local fella who threatened the father after the rape. Told me after a bottle of whiskey was inside of him, like. Said there was a group of them involved. Said there was a white paper that documented the entire episode, but it never went public because a gang of brothers had been in the old RIC. And it got out to those in the know to be burnt out like the rest of them. So they moved south and left Her Majesty's services.